Digital transformation. It's an interesting word. Everybody's using it today. Everybody I interview and write about and read about is talking about digital transformation. So I'm just curious, what does transformation mean? It seems to me there's a lot of different kinds of transformers and transformations and so on. Hi, this is Gary. This is Gary on Manufacturing. This podcast is brought to you with support from Inductive Automation. Discover a whole new view with Ignition 8 from Inductive Automation, packed with features for the modern control system like unlimited licensing, high-powered tags, and a mobile-first flexible design environment for all devices. Ignition 8 supports enterprises of any size. See all Ignition has to offer at inductiveautomation.com. And I should mention that I am going to be at the Ignition User Conference in Sacramento in the middle of September. If you're going to be there, look me up, send me a text, say, hey, let's meet for a coffee or something. See you then. Digital transformation. Everybody wants to be in the digital transformation business these days. It's quite fascinating, I find, and it's just another way we've moved from I want to be an automation company to I want to be involved in Internet of Things. Hey, we've got to be an Internet of Things, and we have Internet of Things solutions. We have industrial Internet of Things then when it became a fashionable word, and then in Industry 4.0 became things, and we're in Industry 4.0, and now we're digital transformation. So I was thinking about the word transformation. When I was a kid and I was learning electronics, I had transformers, and transformers basically existed to change voltage from one to another so that it was more useful for whatever the heck I was building. Maybe I had 120 volts in out of the socket in the house, and I was building something that required less, and so we just changed the electricity, we changed the voltage, the amount of power, to something usable. And so that's one way to look at transformers, transformation. I started playing with the idea of the kind of the opposite, inverters, and I thought, I think we're going too far afield when we start getting too deep into electronics. But I was thinking about other kinds of transformation. We have toys, which came much after, actually even after my kids were little, I think. So Transformers the toys became Transformers the movie. There's a transformation for you. And so I wondered if companies are talking about doing about the same thing. And then on the other hand, I keep finding study after study after study that talks about executives. Executives are concerned about digital transformation. They see that they need to do digital transformation to be competitive in their industry. However, executives also hear that it is very hard to do Internet of Things projects or Industry 4.0 projects or whatever the project might be. And I think sometimes we kind of look at a big picture and look at an overwhelming problem when, as we all know, the best way to solve a lot of these things is like a step at a time. So digital transformation, I think, refers to the fact that pretty much everything that we're doing these days is digital. So therefore, we're doing a much better job with our CAD systems. So it's more than CAD, it's PLM, product lifecycle management, and even beyond that, but the design of the product and the design of the machinery that make the product, or the process that makes the product, and the parts of the process that make the process, and so on, all of that is digital. Everything is defined in a digital way, in a digital format. And what's digital? Well, digital actually becomes data, and data then becomes information at some point. So digital transformation is, in essence, beginning with all these devices that we have now, and all the devices have digital output. So we can put it into a database, we can manipulate it, and we can do all kinds of interesting stuff. So that's one way to look at it. So on the one side, that's kind of the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things was we have smart devices with digital outputs. We're much better at networking and wiring and so on, and bringing these things together, and getting that digital part of it. And then we're developing more things along the way as part of an Internet of Things system. We have maybe platforms like Linux Foundation's EdgeX Foundry, for example, or every company pretty much of any size has its own proprietary platform. And proprietary in the sense that it has open connections to the outside, but it's really designed to get people to lock into their own solution, whatever it might be. And that can be good or bad. I'm an open person, but I like open connectivity. So you might be SAP or Oracle or Rockwell or Siemens or whoever, and that all kind of fits that way. We have gateways, so we've gotten a lot of intelligent gateways and powerful as companies like Dell Technologies and Hewlett Packard Enterprise bring some of their powerful computing to the edge in small and sometimes really manufacturing worthy, ready, or even production ready, like on offshore oil rigs and so on. And so we can get a lot of computing power, a lot of database, a lot of software we can add in there, and a lot of connectivity at the edge. And the edge being somewhere where things are being made before it goes to some other place, like, for example, the cloud. It's another thing. Now that we have much better communications and stable communications, cloud computing is getting to be a big deal. And that cloud basically means it's in a server somewhere. And so we define off-prem, on-prem. So the server may be on your premises, or it may be somewhere else. You rent from a public place, quote-unquote public, like Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure or something like that. A lot of companies are doing that. So following the thread. So we have digital design, digital production design, digital construction design. One of the later things I'm looking at, I just saw a press release, was a partnership with Worley Parsons and Aviva, and I just wrote about it on my blog, themanufacturingconnection.com. And what they were doing is just a way of taking all that digital data from the design through the construction process into the operations process. Something I was trying to work with an organization called Mimosa, MIMOSA, mimosa.org, and trying to do that using solely standards. A lot of the supplier companies did not want to use open standards for everything. They have their own internal things that they've built up. Be that as it may, if it is open connectivity, at least it's open to some degree. And so that's an interesting concept of that part of designing the whole facility, for example, down to the P-end IDs and into the process itself, which gets into the components. So we go from pumps, the motors with the pumps, to the parts of the motor, that's part of the pump, part of the process, and so on. It's all digitally defined and digitally explained and digitally findable, so that operations and maintenance, when they're working on a process or on a startup or on troubleshooting or turnaround or whatever it might be, that's all easier to find. Back in the old paper days, I had a job for a while, so part of my job was it's all on paper, and it was a lot of spreadsheets and a lot of photocopying of papers, and I was kind of the one-person choke point for the as-designed to as-built back to the as-designed process. And so change management is part of all that. Change management is part of digital transformation. So if we break these down into parts, we can see that we can start with these different parts and different divisions. IT gets involved because IT manages some of the edge. They definitely manage the cloud. They manage a lot of the networking. They know about security, and they know how to connect things. They know how to manage databases. They can find the analytics people for doing high-powered analytics and data science and all the databases and so on. Operations technology knows how to make things. They know how to read sensor data. They know how to compile sensor data and relate it into some sort of a format such that it becomes usable or useful. It becomes information in data in a context rather than that. So when I see everybody that's writing to me and they're saying, we're involved in digital transformation, that's good. What does that mean? And I think in the end, what it's got to mean is the engineers are working, they're putting all this together, but there is a reason. Now, some executives drank the Jeff Immelt from GE Kool-Aid that we're going to make an awful lot of money changing from being a product company to a service company. So famously, GE was going to sell thrust, not engines, for example. A long time ago, we talked about this in machine-to-machine communications, whereby an OEM sells some sort of a machine or maybe a process unit or something like that. They can monitor it, and then they can sell services because they monitor. They can go in and say, hey, it's time to service this or change out the motor or the bearing or whatever the thing might be. Or I'll sell you, you pay me X number of dollars per month or whatever. I come in and I maintain the process and so on. So in other words, I'm selling something beyond the product. Evidently, product sales in and of themselves aren't enough. Even Apple is looking for ways to sell things beyond just the product. Hopefully we don't all get into selling advertising, which became the Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn kind of format of I'll gather a lot of information so that I can sell ads based on different profiles. Well, we won't go down that rabbit hole. But anyway, back to digital transformation. So some executives are looking at selling products and services. Most people are looking at how can I run my operations better? How can I increase uptime, productivity, throughput, get more product out for fewer, less assets and fewer people? Now that we're facing shortages of people, that gets to be important. So there are a lot of things going on in that. So productivity, improved maintenance, improved operations, improved asset allocation, all that stuff is possible with this digital transformation beyond even just this whole selling services idea, which maybe for some companies is going to be their salvation. Who knows? Digital transformation is worth watching. Is it just a buzzword, or is it a real business strategy? Is it something that we can operationalize? I think so. I think we're looking at some pretty cool stuff. So, and this is just another drive toward getting rid of the IT/OT split that we've heard about for the last 20 years, and just saying, hey, we're all working together trying to make our company a stronger, more profitable, better company. Anyway, that's a few thoughts on digital transformation. This is Gary Minchell. And remember this podcast, and I appreciate my sponsors, and this sponsor is Inductive Automation. Discover a whole new view with Ignition 8 by Inductive Automation, packed with features for the modern control system like unlimited licensing, high-powered tags, and a mobile-first flexible design environment for all devices. Ignition 8 supports enterprises of any size. See all Ignition has to offer at inductiveautomation.com. And hopefully I'll see some of you at Ignition Customer Conference 2019 in Sacramento, or actually outside of Sacramento and Folsom in mid-September. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.